Welcome to another episode of Golden Nuggets, Tips and Tales, powered by Property Finder. This is where we uncover the untold stories behind the region's top real estate professionals. And because there's a great story behind every lead and listing, we're shining a spotlight and going behind the scenes with Property Finder SuperAgents, whose journeys are packed with hard-earned lessons, bold moves, and powerful takeaways you won't forget. Today, I'm with Clementine Munro, who's the sales director of Haus, one of Dubai's largest brokerages, and she also leads a whole squad of Property Finder SuperAgents. Want to hear some of your tales about some of these standout agents? Who's the most unforgettable agent that you've had working for you? What made them impossible to ignore?
I think, I'm lucky. The standard is so high at Haus, and then when you couple it with a platform like Property Finder, it pushed the standards even higher. So I'd say the majority of our agents are super agents. There's a couple of agents that spring to mind, both tremendous in their own right and both so different in their execution of the role.
In a sea of brokers, what makes them two stand out?
So one of them is called Cahill O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
He is a multi-award-winning agent. He's sold well in excess of 200 homes. Cahill is the most disciplined agent I've ever met. The money and the result for his clients is exceptional. But how he gets there is just by doing the mundane over and over.
Right.
And I think a lot of people want to innovate and think that they can eventually stop being agents, if that makes sense. They want all the money, but they assume that when they get to the top, they won't be doing those day one tasks.
Right.
And Cahill just proves that it is by repetition of those day one tasks, which is just updating people on what's just sold, what's just been listed, calling people when he said he was going to, but really just doing the A to Z of how to be a good agent.
Absolute basics.
He's done tremendously well, and he's an absolute joy to manage, always learning. He's just a tremendous example of a super agent.
And those mundane tasks, because I've noticed a new trend, a lot of agents are, once they get into their second, third year, they start hiring PAs or assistants to perhaps do those mundane tasks. Is it a false economy?
It's funny because I have an agency that I've worked for does have that system going on whereby senior brokers have a junior broker. I don't think, honestly, okay, perhaps it does work to a certain extent, but I wouldn't say that they make a significant difference at the end of the day, because the reality is, if someone's junior, they're just calling, because I got called actually by someone's junior broker the other day, and all they asked me is the property still available? Would you sell it? And then I said, what's it worth? And they said they'd have to get back to me. So then actually, yes, maybe it's kind of, but why you're so good is because you were able to then take that conversation on.
Right.
I do think it's a bit of a false economy, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Maybe for, getting your listings up, doing your admin, your paperwork, your contract, but not the client facing or communication with potential clients or...
No, so our top brokers do have administrators for them, exactly to manage the administrative process. And then that's a wonderful use of support, but not someone to actually fill your pipeline.
Yeah. And who's the second agent?
And the second is Jamie Hemingway, who is also tremendously hardworking. I was saying, I think my earliest phone call from Jamie this week was probably at about 6:40 a.m. with a brilliant idea. Where Jamie, he does innovate. He is tremendous at client relationships, recycling the client into other opportunities. He has second to none knowledge of Dubai. You could say, what's the best thing to do? And all the way from Al Jadaf to Dubai South. And he would be able to guide you in and out, importantly, of a lot of big, exciting real estate decisions.
So area knowledge, he's got it locked down. Not just for his niche, he knows all the others as well.
And portfolio building. He's made tremendous money for people. And as a result, they're incredibly loyal to him. He's put them in and then, as I said, importantly, taken them out of those investments at the right time and then placed them into the next one. So I think he's built up a lot of trust in the marketplace. He also leads a team. He's very good at on-the-spot training. He's a very good mentor to the people who work under him. He's always willing to bring people out on viewings, bring them to meetings so they can learn. has a really big heart for the people in his team. And again, he's an absolute joy to look after because he's always just trying to get better. And I think that's what makes the best of the best different, is we're always just trying to be the best that we can be.
Yeah. And you've interviewed and hired hundreds of agents in your time. What would you say are the key qualities you're looking for when you're on an interview?
I think coachability, and also, are you listening? I don't really talk about myself much, but someone who's done maybe a bit of research before on the company, I often ask, why real estate, but why House and House? And actually, I learned from James Perry, who's one of our co-founders and managing directors. I've sat in on some of his interviews, and he asks some wonderful questions. If appropriate, I ask, like, what are you proudest of? If I called your boss now, what would they say your 3 strengths are? What would they say? You're not trying to be too one-dimensional and do you know the mechanics of real estate? Are you salesy? Yeah. But really, would I buy a house off you? Would I sell a house with you? Do I like you?
Yeah.
And are you coachable? Are you listening? Are you taking prompts from the conversation to then nurture the conversation in a different direction?
Yeah. I'd always, on an interview, question myself, can I see myself having lunch with this person? Yeah. That used to be my decider. Like, if I can sit down and say, do you know what, I'll go for lunch with this person, I know that they'd make a good agent. Not that my standards were super low, but it's just, like you said, that likability. Would I buy from you? Would I eventually one day sell through you? So it's not so much about strengths and weaknesses and how much you closed, because especially in this environment, most agents kind of stick to one agency for a long time. And if they're coming with, if they're switching agencies, I saw one of the recruiters posted today, the transfer window is open. The Dubai
so funny.
Transfer window is open. What about when agents come with prior experience? Is that a bit of a red flag sometimes? I always used to like them with no experience so that they were coachable by me. But how's it different in Dubai for experienced agents?
I would say the House and House mostly would be known for an agency that recruits out with the marketplace, and therefore the agents that we have end up being very loyal and are a kind of House and House way, which I would say is just a highly ethical. We still wear suits and ties. Yeah. You'll see today I have a jacket on. We're still, I like to think that if we did a lineup of 10 agents from the whole of Dubai Real Estate, you'd be able to say which ones work for House and House just on how they present.
Yeah. Very corporate, aren't you?
Yeah. Although corporate, I always think that almost has a negative connotations. What I would say, we have very high standards across the board. And as a result, that can feel restrictive. But actually it's not, because as you grow, you need to keep the standards high. But we have had a number of experienced agents join us. And that is because as they have developed in their careers, and they have a wider client pool, they need to be able to service those clients more holistically. Right. And we're a multidisciplinary agency. So we've got everything from leasing to property management, holiday homes, home maintenance. And people get frustrated when they're at top brokerages, maybe as more of an independent agent at that, maybe on a higher commission. But if they can't refer confidently internally, they actually then lose the business. Yeah. Because if they have to refer to a third party for XYZ, that third party could then pick up the relationship. And also the strength of our marketing team. We're about 40 in marketing now, headed up by a tremendous woman called Claire, who is hugely dynamic, very brand conscious. And as a result, we produce incredible content for customers, but also for agents. So again, if they want to nurture these relationships, and then probably finally, I was an outside hire into a C-suite position. I think as you grow, your company needs to look a little differently. What maybe got you this far is not going to carry you forward.
You've got to keep innovating.
That different voices, people with different skills, different language skills maybe. Dubai is an international city, and it's really important you don't just have agents who are only from the UK, who only speak English, because that's not a reflection of Dubai.
Absolutely.
So we have had some talent join us to bolster many different aspects of the business.
And the Americans are coming, we hear.
They are.
So we need to. I haven't seen many American real estate agents, though.
We've got 2.
Have you? Okay.
One who just sold a Royal Atlantis yesterday, and one who wears actually a United States pin always.
Very patriotic.
A top agent. I know, exactly.
And finally, what's your playbook for building the next wave of property finder super agents?
Do you know where we're really lucky? Because we already were doing most of what Property Finder required of us before the super agent category came in. It's actually really easy for us to then have a very high number of super agents because we naturally are very well behaved in the marketplace. And we were already doing a lot of the behaviors that are required of Property Finder. So I think continue doing what it is that we do. And I think it can be tempting in this market to change identity with the tides. It's very fashionable at the moment to offer a lot of incentives and offer more flexibility and offer dress down. And I think that that's probably not our identity. And I think what we have done has got us to where we are. And we're going to stay the course, continue doing what we are excellent at, which is high standards, customer centric. But we are a traditional in-office suit and tie agency.
And you listen to the playbacks of the call recordings, don't you?
I do. Again, all these 1% differences that can end up having a huge impact.
Yeah. I used to sit down with the agents and play back their call recording, because in case you don't know, all calls through Property Finder on a listing are recorded for training and control purposes. But not many people actually use it to train their agents. So what's one example of a good or a bad playback that you had?
I have a very funny story for you. If you
Oh, we've got a tale. Have we got a tale?
We'll definitely have a tale.
Let's hear it.
So exactly, a huge part of what we do is listening back to calls to check that agents are interacting with the customer in the right way, or even just, could you have said this? Could you have said that?
Yeah.
But we once had a super agent who had started dating someone, and unbeknownst to that person, the girl had a boyfriend. And the boyfriend called this agent off Property Finder and gave him a right earful. And the whole thing was available for us to listen to.
Oh my God,
afterwards.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So he probably Googled him,
He did.
the agent, and okay, because obviously it improves your Google ranking if you're a super agent. So found his name, immediately found a number, because it's not actually their number.
No.
It's like an encrypted number. And
He was very professional, the agent, though, the whole time.
knowing that it's recorded.
But probably actually helped knowing that it was recorded. But that was a pretty good.
How did that story end?
I don't know the ending, actually. I think the relationship broke up. The man was a little bit shocked, and the rest is history.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for that playback of the playback. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Watch the rest of Clementine's, and while you're at it, why not binge the whole season?